What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel. Joining me today on the channel for the first time since May of 2020, he is the RevPro British Cruiserweight Champion, Michael Oku, a.k.a. the OJMO. What's going on, man? Welcome back to the channel.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me back on. I was the champ then. I'm still a champ now, and things are going great.
I'm glad to hear that, man. We were just talking off air for a little bit. It's good to see you, man. It's good to see that everything has been going smoothly for you. Like I said, it's been 2 years since we last did an interview. Just kind of catch me up on everything, man. I know it's a lot to recap 2 years, but just how everything's going for you, man. How life treating you?
Yeah, man. So, oh my gosh, from May to now, it's just been such a roller coaster of like trying to figure out when wrestling's going to come back, how wrestling's going to come back, if wrestling's going to come back. I'm going to be part of it or not, just even those were like questions in my head. And it went from doing empty arena shows for RevPro, and then slowly us coming back to live shows, which would have been, is that 2021 or, oh my goodness, no.
It was
2021.
Yeah.
So it was like nearly a year of doing empty arena shows to July 2021, I believe, was like when we had started doing our first shows in front of crowds again. A few were socially distanced, and then we were slowly allowed to do them without social distance. And then it was just a challenge of bringing back the buzz to independent wrestling, bringing back the buzz to Revolution Pro Wrestling. I feel like it took a few months. We had some big shows here and there, and I think the big York Hall shows, more than anything, got people excited about wrestling again. And I guess this last one was probably the best example of that.
So sort of to take it back to the those early days when you guys did get the reboot started. Like I gotta ask, because I haven't talked to you like in an interview type setting since since we did that first one. What was it like doing those empty arena shows? Was it just you just couldn't wait to get out of there?
Yeah, it was such a. I can say with hindsight now that it was so hard, and it just didn't feel like wrestling. I think I've seen John. I think that's what John Moxley say about that like ages ago. He's like, he just said, "I hate it, I hate it," and all this stuff. And it's just like, yeah, because the crowds do make wrestling, and the crowds, especially for myself, it really dictates how I wrestle. Having a crowd there, that's so important. I'd imagine, like I know, acting, people do films and there's not really an audience there. But I couldn't imagine doing theater and there's not being actual a crowd there to perform to, because the way you perform theater is so designed for an audience. The size of your movements and how the noise you make, all these things are so dependent of an audience and the pauses you take as well. So like not to have the crowd, especially, which like I would say that's one of my strengths is my connection with the fans. It's just not having it was just like so difficult. And we were like, most times we were filming or recording, it was to the late hours of the night because we didn't want natural light coming in. It was cold one time. It just was. And then the ring started to hurt even more. The ring hurts way more when there's no fans there. I don't think the adrenaline. So it's just so difficult. So when we just had like a smidgen, but having said that, I'm saying so much bad stuff about it. I want to say that I feel like it was so necessary to do them because we built so much stories, so many new wrestlers, so many angles to set us up for when fans came back. And I think like a lot of us reaped the benefits of that. I think the main one maybe is Ricky Knight Jr. But I think loads got to like really develop ourselves and set stuff up for when fans are back because of those empty arena shows.
Let me ask you this. So like one kind of common, I would say positive that I've seen from most wrestlers when they speak about the sort of empty arena, no fans era that everybody went through for a great portion of 2020 was the fact that they felt like they got to focus more on the match per se, and like even though it was difficult not having fans there, like they could just solely focus on what they were doing in the ring, opposed to like taking that break to like play to the crowd a little bit and sort of involve them and get them involved a little bit in the match. Did you sort of have any type of those moments where like you felt like you could just solely go in the ring and just focus on exactly what you guys were doing without having to play to the crowd, or did it like you I mean, like you just said, the crowd is like a big essential part to what you do in the ring. Like, did you sort of like did you have any like type of balance there? Like as far as did you feel it was like, okay, like now I could just, I guess, solely focused on what I'm doing in the ring, opposed to, you know, having to do the other part of professional wrestling, which is to involve the crowd?
I think there are certain types of wrestlers who excelled at no fans wrestling
Yeah.
more than others. And I was not one of those wrestlers. I can put my hand and say that. I really can. I think that the style that was best suited for no fans wrestling is either a hard grappling style, a stiff style where you can hear all the noises and the strikes. Like, for example, Ilya Dragunov versus Walter, the match that he did that had no fans. I think it was enhanced because it was just two warriors just battling each other, and you're seeing the welts and the scars and the noise of everything. I feel that actually it was enhanced because it was 5 stars. I mean, well, it was 5 stars, but I think it was enhanced because there was no fans there. And again, the way they wrestle, there isn't a lot of, you know, showing out, putting your arms out and being like, come on, everybody, wanting to get booed. Just two people fighting. And I think, so in my head, I was trying to tell myself, well, you know what? It's a crutch to play to the fans. It's a crutch if you need the fans to look to the fans, this and the other. But then I just really thinking about that, like every wrestling match is built on the emotion that you draw from the people that are watching. Even if there's no drama involved, like shenanigans outside the ring, even if it's just two wrestlers on the inside the ring, if they stay inside the ring the whole time, there is emotion drawn, and that is brought through and the crowd is the one that gives that to you. So like, although like it made me like really make sure that, okay, I need to make sure that my stuff is crisp, because I think you can get away with, obviously sometimes if you're really over with the fans, you can get away with not having the best technique when it comes to wrestling, because they will kind of cover it up for you. But with no fans wrestling, with no fans there, you just kind of have to just wrestle. And there's nowhere to hide, basically. There's nowhere to hide.
No, we was talking about it's been 2 years since we last do the interview. I think 2 might be the special number here, man, because along with that, it was 2 years ago, like legit almost to the day that we're recording this, that you beat El Phantasmo for the RevPro British Cruiserweight title at the High Stakes 2020 show. And that was at your call, I believe. Like, do you have any fond memories from that match, or like any like recollection of the crowd's energy in the building for that show and for that match that you had?
Yeah, it was Valentine's Day. So that's how I remember it. High Stakes 2020. It was just a real special feeling. So I was semi-main event, me and Phantasmo, and we started hot. I believe we started with a belt shot. He hit me in the back of the head with a belt, and like, I feel like, and especially if I was to compare it to the match I had with Will Ospreay, when they announced it was the main event for me and Will Ospreay, the crowd was electric. When we were doing our entrances, the crowd was electric. I didn't feel that they were that electric when we were doing our entrances, me and El Phantasmo. But once he hit me with the belt, it was on. Everybody was now paying attention, and we're like, okay, all right, okay. And like the eruption from when I won the title, jumped into the crowd and everything, it's just like, I treated it as though there was no other match that was coming after us. There was no other match. But even though Zack Sabre Jr. and Will Ospreay were about to then wrestle for the heavyweight title, which then also won, like, I just treated that like we were the main event. And I was celebrating for so long with the audience. My music finished and then he started again. Like, because I was like, this is it. This is the main event. Goodbye, everybody. Good night. But yeah, it's just a real cool moment.
Like, was that the same night that when you and Giselle Shaw came out to the ring with Ospreay and y'all did like the champion send off type thing, like sign off?
Yeah. Myself, Giselle Shaw, who now of Impact.
Yeah, man.
Will brought us out, showered all the compliments upon us, and it really, it just felt like something special was gonna happen. It was kind of like, I felt like 2019 was a rebuilding phase for the scene. And I felt like that after that show at 2020 and how hot the crowd were. I also remembered that like once Will was talking and having that speech, he might have been talking for nearly 10 minutes. Everybody was standing up and just listening to what he had to say about how the scene's gonna like, you know, it's gonna march on and become something big. And then the pandemic happened. But so it's just a weird thing that we went from a rebuilding phase, which I thought we just, at the end of High Stakes, we kind of got out of. And then we've just, because of the pandemic and everything else, we went back into a rebuilding phase. But I think there's been real strong signs of life from the last few York Hall shows.
Mm-hmm. Like, so how does it feel, you know, knowing that you are like, I think you've been it for a while, but like we're talking about it now. Like, how does it feel knowing that you are the longest reigning RevPro British Cruiserweight Champion of all time? Like, I think you surpassed Ospreay, you surpassed Finn Balor, and you surpassed the like 14 or 15 other people, I believe. Like, how does it feel to like know that you are like officially forever stamped in as as the longest British Cruiserweight Champion in RevPro's history as of this moment, and probably for a long time. It'll probably take at least another, you know, somebody got to have a whole 2-year run. But like, just how does that feel, man, to know that you have that accolade?
So they've got hope for a pandemic. They've got hope for their own pandemic. A new one, a new strain to come around and help it. And that's the thing. I feel like that kind of helps. And so I was always in my mind of like, I'm gonna break this reign, but there was this pandemic happening that had it. So my focus as well was like the number of defenses. I wanted to have the most number of defenses, and I think I overtook the record number of defenses when I beat Chris Ridgway in London. But then I've had way more defenses since then. So like now that I've had the record number of defenses, I just feel like, okay, well now I've solidified that like I can say I'm the best cruiserweight champion in RevPro history because of the things I've done. That we can get onto, like holding the tag titles and challenging for the heavyweight title like I've done. I feel like doing those things whilst being cruiserweight champion and then defending it, doing double duty on multiple shows and multiple of the big shows as well, mind you. Like I feel like those things are things that the other champions couldn't say they did, and I've done. And yeah, I just think that the argument is there to say that like I'm the best cruiserweight champion of all time, not only the longest reigning with the most defenses.
There you go. And when you talk about you know, doing double duty on shows, is that more of a thing? Like, because I mean, like what you guys do, you know, it ain't easy. So especially falling on the mat consistently, I'm pretty sure that, you know, that takes a toll on your body. Like, but in those cases when you do work double duty, is it just a matter of like you just got the adrenaline going, so it's just like, you know, let's go. Then that's how you're able to sort of not power through it as if you can't get through it, but like more so like it sort of alleviates the pain, you know, while you're already amped up and you like coming off the high, just having a match, and then it's sort of easier to like go back into another one.
But that's the thing. The adrenaline wears off between the match, between the two. As soon as you like, it'd be like have the one match and then have the next match right after. But then there's always like a gap where everything cools down. You actually feel that like your elbow might hurt a little bit and all these different things. These small pains are happening. So like, you have to find a way to build the adrenaline back up. And it usually happens during the second match, not at the beginning of it, but during the second match. I think it was the first big show that we had back was Manchester, at the Manchester Warehouse. I believe Ricky Knight Jr. wrestled Shota, Doug Williams wrestled Will. Then I wrestled Robbie X in the first match of the show. And then it was the Great British Tag League final, where me and Mills wrestled the Legion. And we won the tag titles. So it was retaining the cruiserweight title and winning the tag titles. And then the next York Hall show was, which was like 30 days later, and to defend it in a triple threat match, the cruiserweight title. And then I had to wrestle as the Open, defending the tag titles with Mills. And that time we didn't win, but it's one of those things where like I hold my hat on the fact that people left that York Hall show saying that it's one of the best tag matches they've ever seen, ever, which is just a wild thing. That was the first time I heard anything like that about any of my matches. Best ever, in terms of a fan's enjoyment of a match. But to say I was able to do that whilst also saying that I was wrestling earlier in the show is a real like a cool thing. And I think those are the two times. Oh, and then there was the British J-Cup that happened as well. Yeah. That happened like November time, where again a few more people finally did double duty along with me, but again, it's just like, it just became the norm now. At that point, I was like, all right, this is just what it is. It's just like, this is what Andy wants me to do. He needs me to fill the card out, and I'll do it. I'll be everywhere on the card, no problem.
Yeah, so it seems like you and Will Ospreay, like y'all have been like intertwined like for quite some time, like whether it was on like a good side or him versus you or you versus him type thing. Like I think you mentioned Robbie X and that reminded me, didn't you and Robbie X, like it was you, Robbie X and Session Moss Martina, like y'all wrestled United Empire at like an OTT show like 2 months ago, I want to say. Yeah. So it seems like you and Ospreay, like y'all sort of been like, like y'all been sort of tied at the hip for quite some time, like whether y'all like against each other or on the same side. Like I think honestly, I think it would be cool if like y'all were able to do another one-on-one, and probably like I would say like if I had to like guess a show, it'd probably be like New Japan's Windy City Ride show in April. I think that'd be cool, like for y'all to like just do it again, and this time do it in the US. I think that'd be like a cool thing, and it probably won't even have to be like considered a blow off. I think you guys still got probably a couple more matches left in you, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too. I'm thinking that the next time we wrestle won't be the last time that we wrestle. This is just probably the beginning of our like series of matches. I feel if we did a documentary of mine and Ospreay's story, I feel like there's so many things that haven't been brought up that people might not know about, or we haven't even spoken about. Like obviously there was that trailer for the match that we put out that was about 2 minutes just to tell the story of the match. But the fact is, my first wrestling match 5 years ago, he was there watching it. He was there just watch me having my first wrestling match. And he went right down to give me feedback and tell me what he thought of me. And he said I could be a great comedy wrestler one day, and this, that, and the other. And it's just like him starting his own promotion. And I was like, it was a very like serious Japanese style promotion, but in the UK. And I was like, man, this is what I want to be part of. How do I do it? And I was like, he's like, I don't think you're good enough to be part of my promotion. You know what I'm looking for? Guy, you could try to prove me wrong, but that's how I see you. And I was like, okay, you're wrong, and I will prove you wrong. So it's just that whole story of like trying to prove him wrong, trying to get booked for his promotion, getting booked for his promotion, then ending up winning the title with him at the same time at York Hall, when he's giving me like, and actually going when he's on the mic saying I was wrong. All those things about you, I was legit wrong. To then wrestling, I think even during the Inter Arena show, I think the first match back was me teaming with him, both as the champs, teaming with each other, and now it's gone all the way to us now wrestling each other. There's so much stuff in between that, and stuff that he's helped me with in between that people just don't know. That like I feel like a documentary would be the wildest thing. But like you said, man, the next time we wrestle, we have to, in a way, in my head, I just have to say we have to top it. Yeah. So even if that means adding a new stipulation, or just it being topped by being in a bigger venue than York Hall, or packing York Hall out even more, who knows?
And sort of moving on from Will Ospreay, like when we talking about potential challenges to the British Cruiserweight title, like I think two of the people that really come to mind for me, and this is more so just recency bias probably because I watched the High Stakes show not too long ago, but that match that Francesco, Akira, and Gabriel Kidd had, man, like you mentioned the words like starting off hot, like they came out the gate and they was right at it, and I think a lot of people really enjoyed that match. I saw that was one of the matches like on top of the social media buzz that you and Ospreay got. I saw like that was kind of one of the matches that people were sort of floating around out there to go check that out as well. Like what do you sort of think about the idea of you possibly defending the title against one of those two, or the possibility of even doing a three-way? I think that would be like a good now I don't want to say clash of style, because I don't think you guys, like, you all have your own unique way that you go about professional wrestling, but you also have similarities that are there as well.
For sure, man. Absolutely. I would love to wrestle Akira and Gabe Kidd, or like you said, at the same time. I've been wanting to wrestle Akira since the first time I met him, which would have been 2018 when I went over to Italy. The show that I went to, he was injured, so he couldn't be on the show. And I had seen some of his stuff, and I was like, this guy is one of the top guys here in Italy. And I could just see the respect that all the other wrestlers had for him, that it was like, okay, this guy's something special. So he hadn't gone to All Japan yet. Then he did all that to make him such a bigger name, and was like waving the Italian flag. And I was just like, just really like the guy, and I was like, I can't wait for us to wrestle. And I believe he's got an injury at the moment, because I think it would have been that we would have been able to like lock up in the ring. And Gabe Kidd, what can you say, man, in terms of a guy who's transformed the way he wrestles? I think he's just on a different plane of people in terms of how he wrestles, and he's such an inspiration, man. Such a nice guy. So I can't say enough things good about him. I always remember that, Jack. I made sure to tell him, just like last Sunday, because he did it again this Sunday. He gave me like a pep talk before I wrestled. I wrestled the defender title against Callum Newman. I'm really proud of that match. He gave me this big pep talk, just to make sure to motivate me and just say, this is nothing different. This is your call. Keep that same your call energy that you had here in this venue at 229. And it really did remind me to just like, I'm going to try and make sure that this is the best match on the show. And he did the same thing when I first wrestled Pac. And I was 3 years prior. And I just had to tell him, I remember you did that then. And it helped big time at that point too. And I never forgot that. So just kind of like, those things help so much. And maybe people don't even know who give that kind of help. I don't even know how much that's helpful. I would love just to share the ring with him, just to learn, and then just to see if I'm better than him, or like see if I can hang with it. That would be a real cool thing. And there's so many more people in the cruiserweight division that I want to wrestle. And then, I mean, good Lord, Leo Rush, again, talking about injuries, but Leo Rush was announced to come down. And if I'm not on the top of the list of people that he wants to wrestle, I'm on the RevPro, then he's not paying attention. So, I would just think that like former WWE Cruiserweight Champion wants to wrestle current British Cruiserweight Champion. I think that would just be a real cool thing.
Like so to continuing on Gabe Kidd for a little bit, like when it was announced, like when it not announced, but it got out there, it was publicly, put out there that he had graduated from the Young Lions system in New Japan. Dude, I saw so many of his colleagues from the UK like show out for this dude. I'm talking about big talk. I'm like, this and that about Gabe Kidd, and it was really cool to see so many people like really jump out there and show that support for him. Like I don't know how tight you guys are, or like how often you communicate. I know you said you talked at the high stakes show, but like what do you think it is about Gabe Kidd or what he's done that has made his colleagues, even yourself, like for people to just like really come out there and show that type of support for him? Like when they got out there that he's graduated from the Young Lions system, man, like people like they were like over the moon for this dude.
It's like, that's the thing. I wouldn't say that we are close, but I love that guy. Anyone who doesn't like Gabe Kidd can't be trusted. That's a quote. I think why everybody showed their like love and their support to him so publicly and everything, more than anything, was his work ethic. How young he is. I'm trying to remember how young he is. He's probably
young, bro. Yeah.
He's young. He's young.
Yeah.
He's young when he went over to Japan. He went through so much when he was there. And especially like a guy in the position that he was in when he was here, he was on top of a few promotions. Like What Culture was using him in a big way. And when he turned to Define, they're still using him in a big way. There was loads of promotions up north in the UK that were using him in prominent positions. When World of Sport went back onto ITV, they were like, this is a guy that we want to go behind. He already had things in place to like, he could just be like, okay, well, let me just hang around and just see what happens. But instead, what he did is like, I'm going to strip everything back. I'm going to go to Japan. I'm going to train in a dojo and start from scratch. And that's already admirable, being so young to be like, I'm going to live in Japan. And then the pandemic happens. So he's probably there longer than he thought he would be.
Yeah.
And he just like stuck his nose to the ground. He just kept at it, kept grinding. And everybody saw his improvement. Everybody's seeing he's getting better and getting good. As like a fellow Brit, I'm just like, yes, yes, this is what I want to see, man. This is what I want to see. It's hard not to just be proud of him, even though I didn't give birth to him, even though I didn't train him. It's hard not to see that I'm like that you're proud of him, you're happy for his success. So it's really cool now to see like him on everyone's lips, and everybody from around the world now are like, we can't wait to see what Gabe Kidd's going to do next.
And sort of moving off that, like I know I had read recently, that you were a part of a promotion's debut. I think it was the Creation Pro out in Cardiff. Like what could people sort of expect from that promotion? Because that was their debut show that you were a part of. You were a part of that card. Like just if you could sort of judge it based off of your first experience there, like what do you think people can expect locally from Creation Pro?
So it was an honor to be part of that first show. It was
Mm,
so fun, so well run, so well organized. Um, and I think you can expect unique matches that you probably haven't seen in other promotions in the UK. So in the UK, I feel like there's a lot of same, a lot of repeating of things that you see. You can see the same match on one show that you then can just like go a few cities away and see the same match. I know that Creation Pro, the team behind it, they're up for like doing interesting things, trying to put on sick matches, as well as making like doing things that are like maybe unique and making people laugh. For example, on the show was uh, Man Like Bino versus Brendan White in a hair versus hair match. Brendan White already doesn't have hair, so
mhm.
it's already just an interesting thing. I was like, I have to. For me as a wrestler who's on the show, I was like, no matter what, I have to make sure I'm able to see this match. If I'm still in pain, if I'm sweating, if I haven't changed yet, I need to make sure I've got a seat to see just what is going to happen. This is always and I think that's going to be a continuing thing from each show. There's just going to be something that's just wacky, maybe more than one thing that will make you be like, what is this going to look like? And that's
Mm,
the same thing with certain matches. I wrestled a wrestler called Sid Oakley. He became like a regular wrestler for Attack Pro Wrestling, part of the Ring Crew Express, which is the thing that we're doing. But I remember going to those shows and watching those shows, and I could see his ability and see his talent. And I was
mm,
like, this is so. Once I got told I'd be wrestling, I was like, yes, this is going to be fun. And I feel like if people didn't know who he was, they would get to see it. And that's one thing that I'd at least like to take pride in is through everything that's happened. If I can do my bit, which is either to part knowledge or just to shine a light on people that I think deserve at least just a little flicker to be shined on. That'll be a great thing. So by all means, I think they're gonna at least put a few matches on their YouTube channel. I know Defending Your Wrestling want to put at least a match on their YouTube channel. So by all means, I think the Cardiff. So I think Cardiff, Wales. I think a newspaper did an article about it as well. So
mm.
it's good that it's getting a lot of buzz. So and check out Mills versus Nico. Check out Connor Mills versus Nico Angelo, and that should have the main event. And they're insane, and they killed it. So go
That's
for
what's
it.
up. That's what's up, man. It's always cool seeing like new promotions get they start and they have like I'm pretty sure it's not easy to generate buzz when you're like just starting, but I mean I think it's cool that it seems like from from what you're saying, and of course like a newspaper doing an article on the promotion that they have a decent amount of buzz coming out of the show. I'm pretty sure that's only going to grow as they continue to present shows and so forth. But sort of the last time we talked, we had like an in-depth conversation about representation in wrestling and diversity in wrestling as well. Just from where we were then to where we are now, being from a wrestling perspective, and even seeing maybe some of the changes in the UK wrestling scene. Like, do you think things have improved greatly, or do you think not even necessarily of an or thing, but have you seen sort of some improvements there as far as like representation in wrestling when it comes to Black wrestlers over in the UK?
I think so. I think there's definitely been steps taken in the right direction.
Mm,
It's still one thing that I want to say is that I understand for people who aren't Black that it's difficult to know what the right way to broach the issue,
yeah.
the right way to help solve it.
Mm,
Because I don't think the answer is just to book Black people.
yeah.
It's way more than that. Because for me, when I'm thinking about there being a diversity issue, and when I like to see the improvement, um, I'm noticing there's improvement in the fans. For me, I think the fans will show you if things are working, if there is diversity.
Mm,
And that's what I'm seeing, especially at RevPro shows. I've never seen more such a diverse audience. more Black people than ever before. More Black people are going to wrestling shows. I'm seeing more families going to wrestling shows. I'm seeing more couples going to wrestling shows. So that's a promising thing to me, because then that means that they're seeing something. If it is just on a poster or online, they're seeing something that's telling them, okay, this is for me. Because before then, you might not think that this is for me. You might think that, okay, I'll just watch it on TV. I won't go into the live environment because the live environment is for me. I think I might have mentioned last time we spoke, Progress's tagline was punk rock pro wrestling. And like, it's cool that that's the audience, and you'll draw an audience for that. But punk rock, that's not part of Black culture. So it's fair for a Black person to be like, okay, well, this won't be for me then. And so I'm not, maybe someone needs to do hip hop pro wrestling, R&B pro wrestling.
Like everything doesn't cater to everybody, basically what you're saying. Yeah.
Exactly, it doesn't. But at the same time, there needs to be, like, if there's so many promotions up and down the world, and Black people like wrestling, I know that.
Yes, that's a fact. That's a fact.
Reason, there's no reason that there aren't fans there that can then be inspired by a wrestler they see, that can then make them think, okay, well, maybe I might start training, because it's all grassroots level as well, the diversity thing. There needs to be more diverse trainees at the training school. So how do you make those trainees be interested in training? I asked someone who had a training school or started training. I think it was Dan Maloney, actually. He's been doing this for like 10 years now, since he was a kid. And I asked him, I don't know how it came up, but I asked him, like, when did more women and girls start coming to training? I said, was it 2014? And he said, yeah, it was exactly 2014. And I was like, do you know why? It's probably because that's when Sasha versus Bailey happened at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. And it inspired women to be like, okay, so you can also just be a good wrestler, and that's it. There's nothing more to it. And I'm not about to, like, you don't have to like be like,
I know,
like,
I know what you mean. Like basically, like, I know, because I do think there were a lot of people that were inspired by that Sasha Banks Bailey match from TakeOver, because that, I mean, shit, that thing sort of changed the landscape of how WWE when it presented their women's division. Like it, I mean, I don't think they'll ever like outright say that, but I think that's the, that's the actual truth. But yeah, I definitely think you on point in saying that that definitely did inspire a different generation of women to come out and be like, we don't have to be presented in the light that sort of the mainstream presented women's professional wrestling. Because I mean, even during those like 2014 2015 years, you had the Shimmer and the Shines and these different women's independent promotions, man, that they were doing what had already been done. And even you look back at some of the throwback TNA matches, man, when Gail Kim was there and Awesome Kong, they had that group in there. So and like when it comes to like something I want to touch on, like when we talk about sort of diversity in wrestling, I think there's a difference. And I have recently heard this. We had a conversation with Andreas Hill, like on like this YouTube panel show. Like there is a difference when we're talking about Black representation and diversity. Like, because when we say we as a Black wrestling fan, Black wrestlers, like when we say we want more Black representation, it's just not strictly that, but that's what we're solely referring to. We want to see more of us on this platform. We want to see more of us in attendance. Diversity, I don't think wrestling necessarily in some spaces doesn't have a diversity issue, because diversity is like, having more women involved. That's having people of different sexualities. That's having, like just an abundance of different people. That's that having diversity, like having people from Hispanic background, Asian background, like that's all of that, including Black people. That is diverse. That's what diversity is. I don't think wrestling necessarily in some spaces doesn't have a diversity issue, but I think when you have like sort of black wrestling fans like myself, and we just say we want more to see more of us on these platforms, I think it sort of derives from when we were kids, and we're not consciously like thinking about, well, for me at least, I'm gonna speak for myself, like when I was watching wrestling, I wasn't necessarily thinking about, oh, that's not somebody that looks like me. But as I got older and started looking at, I'm like, damn, I really didn't have that many people to sort of look at in professional wrestling that sort of look like me. So I think as you get older, you start to realize certain things and see certain things. So I think that's more of that where that comes from, because I remember even when we were talking, like, I don't even know how I remember this, but I remember you were talking about how there was a kid in the audience, young black child in the audience, man, who was looking at one of your matches, and you could see, like, he was like really into it, man, and like really amped up. And like I think you were wrestling at the time. And I think that was something that sort of had an impact on you, because you was like, damn, he looking at me. And, you never know. I'm not saying that, he might end up becoming a wrestler, but you never know, like, how seeing somebody that looks like them as a kid could, impact sort of their future plans.
I still see him today. He's
Oh,
always
for
front
real?
row. Yo, cool.
That's what's up,
Yeah,
man.
He's there with his dad. He was there front row. Yo, cool. Just dad. He's like, they got front row tickets, and they were there to see me beat Will Ospreay. And I know that they're fans of Will Ospreay, but they were like, nah, we gotta. This is it. this is who we're supporting. If you got to boil it down to two people, this is who we're supporting. I see him, every day I put the belt on him. When I
That's what's up, man.
But that's it. Like, I'm just going to post that clip because it's just like, it just does mean something. I just feel like while I was growing up, I guess I wanted to be like, obviously Stone Cold was cool, and I kind of wanted to be him, but I definitely was like, but I want to be The Rock though.
Yeah.
Rock that's who's me. Like, I'm watching TV again. I'm growing up in the UK. The Rock is black. I didn't even know what Samoa was. I don't even think I knew what the Isle of Samoa was, this, that, the other. So, like, I know he's half black and half Samoan, but I just saw a black man, and that's the guy. That's the guy who's now. I still think about it to this day. It's like, that's the guy who's on top of Hollywood. Like, that made it the way he did, from pro wrestling to one of the most famous actors in the world right now, and it's been like for years. So that was kind of like my main guy and my only main guy. And he's the inspiration of why I got into wrestling. I just feel like, I've spoken a bit to Andy Quilden about this, just like, the whole training thing of like, if they see that black people are getting opportunities, because it doesn't need to just be, okay, black people win all the time and the whole show. But if there's the opportunity to succeed, the opportunity to get over, that is what matters the most, I think, more than anything. And so that's what's really cool for me. And that's, if anything, that's what makes me anything emotional about the things that I'm doing and I'm succeeding about. Like, it's just the fact that, like, people pointing out to me that, hey, do you realize that you're the first this? Do you realize that you're the first that? You realize that no black British wrestler has ever been having a 5-star match? Black British wrestler has, other than Norman Smiley, like, people can't name another black British wrestler. They got to go back like 40 years. And I'm like to have that's done the things that I've done. And that's when I can step back and I just say, "Rah, man, that's." I didn't think of it that way. In my head, I was just like, I'm just a dude who wants to wrestle because I want to be a wrestler, not to inspire, for selfish reasons. It's just for me. I want to be a wrestler. That's it. But it's only once you get into it, you're like, man, there's actually a bigger reason than just for myself that I should be a wrestler, and that's just for like kind of like a legacy and what you can show that can be accomplished, and what you can show can be possible for other people.
And some you just mentioned, like, but I think you just sort of hit the nail on the head. It's not okay. You got to slot every black wrestler into like as champion, like automatically come in and be champion. People they just want to see just get a chance. You know what I'm saying? Like in the main event scene, in sort of that secondary title scene, like they just want to see people that look like them get a shot because they know what these performers are capable of. I think it's like that, just simple of a conversation. Like, it's just people just want to see people that look like them, and not even just that, but they know how talented some of these black wrestlers are now. Like they just know how talented they are, man. So they know what they can do if given the opportunity. But like you just said, it's just all about giving opportunity. And like it's funny because I always like we always see this conversation, like, man, black people love wrestling. I don't care what nobody say. Like they like it's people out there who are not like super die hardcore wrestling fans. Like they don't like sort of get into the ins and outs of it, but they will legit sit down and watch a show and like enjoy it. And like they will go to a show and enjoy it and not watch anything else about professional, but they will go to a show and like legit sit down and take it in. So yeah, man, I think there is an entire audience out there that is like waiting to be like captured. Like I really do, man. It's cool having this conversation with somebody who's like sort of in your position, like at the sort of on the marquee of a promotion, man. It's sort of like one of the faces there. I think it's cool to hear your perspective. And I do think you have a very important voice when it comes to like the UK wrestling scene as far as representation goes. So I think it's always cool to hear your perspective on those things.
Yeah, one analogy that I had is, again, I just want to, again, like back to what I was saying, just like, if I succeed, it will help other people see that it's possible. If I was to do like a crazy analogy, I'm not saying I'm Obama, okay? But what I'm trying to say is, if I'm like, if he doesn't become president, before he became president, the whole idea of him becoming president is that he told people that it's now possible. Because before then, it's completely fair for Black people to just think it's not possible. Because we know in this life that there are some things in this life that are just not for us. It is not for us. And that's just how it's been made to be. And so if they don't know that a Black person can be president, then a Black person might not get into politics full stop, let alone trying to become president. They won't even want to become a politician in any sense. Or they won't want to follow politics, because this is like, there's stuff that's just not for me. But once someone can get to the highest point in that field, that's how then you slowly start to see more Black senators, more Black politicians, this, that, and the other. I feel like again, that's where the grassroots then starts to become more diverse, and then you can see more people in more prominent positions. And I just hope that with more people being in prominent positions and it feeling natural as well, because again, it's wrestling, so it needs to feel natural.
Right.
I would say it felt natural with myself. I'd say it felt natural with The Rock, with Bobby Lashley. Now I really feel that it feels supernatural. Even when G won the title, I don't feel like it was like, well, let's just do it because it'll make us look good if we put a Black guy. Once that just happened, it just feels like, oh, actually, the guy that's the best is the one, or the guy that's the hottest right now, or is right for the role, is the person that's in that role, and they just happen to be Black. Perfect. I think that's the key. Like, because if I wasn't the right person, for example, to wrestle Will Ospreay, then the crowd would have been quiet. You know, it would have been a dead crowd, but that crowd believed I was going to win. And it's like, and that's not, and I feel like that has nothing to do with my race. It has nothing to do with my wrestling. But once a kid can see that I kind of look like them, or that, like, if they, I don't know, if they wear a silver chain, I also wear a silver chain, and all these different things. Now I've got hair just like them. I've got a high top. They've got a high top. Then maybe they can be like, well, okay, I don't need to have any doubts about what I look like as a human being. When I go to school, people make fun of how I look because these are just traits that they don't have. I don't need to worry about those fears, because someone that has those things succeeded. And that's just a deep thing to go into. But like, yeah, hopefully that's kind of a thing that happens.
Yeah, for sure. And to sort of talk about the big match that everybody's talking about, man. Me and you spent a good 5 or 6 minutes talking about it before we started recording. The match you had against Will Ospreay, High Stakes 2022, 2 years removed from your other big match at High Stakes 2020. Like we sort of dove into it a little bit, but like, did you ever expect for this to be like? So let me ask you this: once the match was over, it was said and done. Did you sort of have that internal feeling like, oh yeah, we just did some shit? Like this thing might be this thing might take off a little bit. Did you sort of have that feeling afterwards?
So I did, and I didn't. I guess I'll say not to the level that it has.
Right.
I'd say, yeah. I was definitely like, okay, yeah, this is special for sure. You can feel it when you're in that ring, and when you're surrounded by the crowd of York Hall.
Right.
When the bell rang, I was like, okay. I was like, okay. They're here for it. So already you're like this, that, like, they're on our side, and we just have to meet their expectations. I really feel like that we needed it. I think we exceeded my expectation of how the match would be, because in my head I was just like, what if this doesn't work? What if this doesn't? Because I've been to York Hall matches or main events where the fans are looking forward to a match, and I've read or seen them kind of leave a little bit disappointed with either the quality of the match or the finish. And I was just like, man, that was my main thought. So for it to go like nearly like just to go as well as it did, I was just like, whew. And then just to like, and then you get congratulations when you come backstage from the wrestlers and that. You're like, okay, that's good. That's good. But then you don't know the level that people are like, oh, this is one of the best things I've ever seen. One of the best matches I've ever seen live. Just like, this is probably one of the matches of the year. I just like, it's very weird to hear. It's very, very weird to hear from me, for sure.
Like when you went to check like your social media and stuff after like once, and well, so like I think something you alluded to, like I mentioned like before we started recording, I think you mentioned something very important. It was like the initial reaction that you got, of course, from the people in attendance, then the people in the back, and then once it got put up on the RevPro on Demand streaming service, and people were able to view the match who weren't there in attendance, then it was like another wave of like, okay, like people are like really big talking this match. Everybody's kind of enjoying this match, and then you started seeing praise from a bunch of different people. Was that kind of like a crazy like sort of cycle to go through to like see the initial and then seeing your colleagues and then the reaction from people on social media, who were able to see the match on the RevPro streaming service?
Yeah, it just maintained this buzz. Like this wave of buzz is still going to this day because of how everything spread out. There was like different milestones of buzz. Again, that live reaction from like I think it was about 1,000 people that were there. Them just everybody tweeting so much about it, this, that, and the other. I even feel like there was even more buzz on it because the Royal Rumble was the same night. And people were not very satisfied with the Royal Rumble. And I think that added to the buzz that, like, from people's perspectives, that we blew the Royal Rumble out of the water, which is supposed to, like, it should be their can't miss like pay-per-view, no matter what's happening with the product. And then I think the first tweet from Meltzer was, "Where can I watch this match? Is it available to watch?" So that already tells me that there's so much buzz about it online that even he's like putting this out. And there is definitely a Meltzer effect thing for sure, because I can experience that. I've got evidence that, if he's, recommending something, people pay attention for sure. And then just, again, other peers, like my fellow peers send me like private messages, public messages about it, people who I really respect or I haven't even heard of them for a while, but just to get that nod from people who've been in the game for so much longer than I have, it's just such a meaningful thing to me. And then, like, again, then Friday came along where the Observer comes out, gives the 5-star rating. I spoke about the fact that, like, the list of 5-star matches that have got 5 stars or above, I think I'm one of the only people that doesn't have a Wikipedia page that has got a 5-star match. So when it comes down to it, to the worldwide audience, I am a relative unknown. Like, so there's always that intrigue of like, who is this guy that I've never heard of that had just been given a 5-star match? So more follows, so many more follows, and it's all happening, and then just more inquiries from, like, not even just interviews, but then bookings, not just in the UK, but around the world. That's becoming a thing. We'll see. We'll see what I can announce when I can announce it.
Okay.
But it's just like it's been a buzz that's not stopping. I guess my goal is, I would say that my goal is just for it to hang on to it, to not stop it, and just to keep it going as best I can. That's really what I want to do. But it's just been amazing. It's just I can't put it into words.
I'm about to say, it's probably an amazing feeling, man. And I know you can't say too much, but could that buzz possibly take you to Dallas, Texas, and around late March, early April? Is that possible?
Well, I mean, early April. I think early April there's a RevPro show in London.
Okay.
So I want to be there for that. So.
Right. Okay.
It's a whole week, right?
That's it's a whole week. Yeah. So we'll hold on that, or hold up on that for the time being. But coming up, by the time this interview comes out, I think it'll be probably a day or so after you have defended the British Cruiserweight title against Luke Jacobs over at Southampton. I think that's when you're going to be facing him. Just speaking about him, like, how do you think that he sort of fared, on his own as a single signing? Because I know his partner, Ethan Allen, had went down like with a bad ACL injury. He's going to be out for like, I think he said like 10 to 12 months or something like that. At that time that he said that, probably like eight months now that he's going, from his timetable for coming back. But like, how do you think Luke Jacobs has sort of fared on his own, now that he's sort of, got forced to be a single talent?
Yeah, it's kind of like into like the deep end for Luke. He's more than capable of holding his own. He's a beast. Myself and Mills, Destination Everywhere, we wrestled them 2 times. I think in the space of a month, in 2021, and I was putting my hat on that. Okay, these are the best matches I've ever had. Like once they were said and done, and they beat the hell out of me. Especially Luke. He's the bigger guy of the team, but they both pack a punch. And like, I know that this singles match is going to be more of the same. I'm just not going to have my Mills to help me. But then again, he won't have Ethan to help him. He's gonna excel, I think. He was in the final of the British J Cup, which surprised people that he was in the final. But I wasn't surprised because it's just like, if you're a good tag wrestler, you're a good wrestler, full stop. So the fact that he's like on the bigger side of a cruiserweight, that's what's going to be like really to his advantage, and it's going to be to my disadvantage. But I wrestle big people all the time, and one thing I say is that sometimes I might bite off more than I can chew, but I'll be able to handle Luke Jacobs just fine. Once this comes out, I'll still be the cruiserweight champ.
There you go. And you talked about the British J Cup. I think that was in November. They ended in November, and Speedball Mike Bailey had won it, and then you had went on to face him. What did you think about the singles match? That you had with Mike Bailey? And I want to say I like the format of like from the 2021 one where it was a 4-way and the champions involved, and like it sort of just adds that like that extra extra little thing to it, like sort of uncertainty, I guess. I think that was a cool way to sort of go about it. And then of course you guys went on to have your singles match. Did you enjoy the match that you had with Mike Bailey? Did you feel that sort of now I don't want to say instant chemistry, but more so like did you start as the match progressed, did you start to sort of feel that that in-ring connection between you guys?
I think there was instant chemistry.
Okay.
Because I credit Mike Bailey a lot to helping me become a better professional wrestler. He's never trained me, like as in the ring. I've done maybe 2 of his seminars, but I think there was like I think he just put out a tweet just saying, "Hello wrestlers, do you want me to give feedback to any of your matches? Just message me." I was like, okay, of course. So he gave me feedback for at least 2 of my matches. And it was so thorough and so detailed and so many paragraphs. And he insisted that I ask questions about the feedback. That he gave me so much knowledge and information that it made me think about wrestling in a completely different way. And that was like 2019. And that was kind of my breakout year, so to speak, where I was having way more singles matches and people were really talking about my wrestling ability. And I credit so much of that to Mike Bailey. So it was a kind of like dream come true that like someone I credited to making me become such a better wrestler, I'm now going on the ring with. And I think because it was a lot of the stuff that I had applied that he had taught me about, that's why they came there, because I knew what to expect from him. And he kind of knew that I'd been using his stuff. So I think he knew what to expect from me, and he knows my moves and I know his. So match just kind of like, it's one of, again, like, I'm trying to think of like my top 10 matches that I've ever had. And it's so hard to like not have that in probably top 5, even though it just happened. It's just so happy with that match. And I was on such a high. I was like, this is the best match on the show. I don't care that the actual Will Ospreay is on the show. This is the best match on the show. And of course that led to me wrestling well.
There you go. And if people go check that out on the that's on the RevPro streaming service too, right? That match with you.
I think they put it on YouTube for free, or they took it down, but they should put it up. They should have put it back up. I think there was like audio issues.
Okay,
but
cool.
It should be free, available soon.
Cool. So I wanted to ask you, like, you had theme music done by AEW's Mikey Ruckus. Is that correct? Did y'all get a little to collaborate on some theme music?
That's correct. So the theme music I started using, it's called No Control.
Mm.
Mikey Ruckus, he composed it. Tristan McIntosh does the vocals of the chorus. She was like in the top 10 of an American Idol once, which I think was really cool. But I remember, so Andy said like, we can't use the music that you're using before because of copyright, but we can use this track from Mikey Ruckus, because Mikey Ruckus, people don't know, he was the RevPro music guy, like before AEW existed for years. But he's producing theme music for so many RevPro wrestlers. And I think he also made some songs, had some songs in the can. So it was just asking Mikey, what songs have you got in the can? And I think I said to Andy, listen, as long as, when he said I had to change my music, which I'd loved so much, and I was just like, this is me. I was so upset, but I was like, listen, I need to say, now we play in the beginning. I need someone rapping the verses, and I'd like a woman singing the chorus. That's all I asked for. And somehow he found something that Mike Ruckus had prepared, and he gave it to me, and I was like, this is it, okay. That's okay. For a second, I thought that maybe there was like Evanescence inside. I was like, get Evanescence. This is how big we're building. I was like, all right, but yeah, no, but like I started to really dig the song, and then for York Hall, I was like, this match, this needs to be as big as possible. And like I'd always dreamed in my head, and I was like, it'd be so cool if I could get them to do a live performance, because I'm still a big fan, and that's the coolest thing, is entrances in like WrestleMania entrances of the live performance performing. I was like, that'll be so cool, but I know it can't. They're all in America. So I was like, okay, how can I make this special? And so I just hit up Mikey, and I was just like, is there a way you can make like an epic intro to the theme that you've made just for this match? And like, I'm wrestling Will Ospreay. It's the biggest match of my life, and I want to make this like seem as epic as possible. And he whipped up something. I think it took him like less than a week. He whipped it up, just a nice little intro at the beginning of it. I've uploaded it onto like my YouTube channel, and I've uploaded the entrance, the live entrance, so you can see all the lighting and stuff, onto my Instagram and on Twitter. And yeah, man, I'm so grateful for that, because I feel like that added to the match. I feel like all the stuff you do even before the bell rings is so important, how people receive the match, and it just took it to a new level. And I also just feel like, again, in my mind, getting people into that building and getting people invested into the match, I had to make people believe that I'm winning that title. And I really think I had a lot of people believing I was going to beat Will Ospreay for the title. And I think having a special entrance made specifically for this moment would also help with that too. So it just really got people jazzed and ready. Shout out to Mikey Ruckus, because he really hooked me up.
Bro, I swear, like it's always the small things that add to like the overall aspect of pro wrestling, like this, the entrance music, the way you walk, the way you talk. So like it's always like those small little things that people may not think. Like I mean, I think a lot of people pay attention to that stuff, but like more so all the talk around is about what you do in the ring, and I mean it should be, but like I think it's, man, like when you add in all the little extra small stuff like that, like it just adds to the overall presentation, you know, of what you're trying to present and what you're trying to convey, you know, to the audience. So I think that's cool, man. And I'm glad that like, because I've read before that Mikey Ruckus had been doing like independent themes like for a while, like you said, long before AEW was even a thing. So like it's cool to know that like there's still that you know, that connection there where you guys can, you know, you can hit them up and stuff like that. And I think it would be cool if you were able to one day get a get a live performance. I think that's always like one of those like star making things before even, you know, even getting in the ring. But like I had recently saw you tweet some, and you know, before we get out of here, I wanted to bring this up. You had said something about Norman Smiley, and you know, sort of I think you had commented on the post. It was like one of the Black History, you know, Black History Month posts about Norman Smiley and his accomplishments throughout his storied career, professional wrestling, and like it had sort of sparked the idea, not an idea, but just more sort of thought in my head. I was like, I don't really hear like a lot of people like talking about like how sort of accomplished and how Norman Smiley essentially is like one of the greats to come out of the UK. Like and maybe that's more so of a conversation. Like let me say this. I think that more so in the States, we probably don't talk about that enough. I don't know how to like sort of the conversations are as far as how you guys, you know, view Norman Smiley and, you know, the amount of praise that he may or may not get. But like when you look at somebody like Norman Smiley and what he's been able to contribute, to the wrestling business throughout his career, and even what he's doing now at the I believe he's still at the Performance Center. Like, how do you think people will sort of remember Norman? And of course, also on top of that, being one of the prized, people to come out of the UK, man, and really make a name for himself and establish himself as a marquee talent as far as in the ring goes.
I don't think we talk enough about Norman Smiley. I don't even think we talk enough about him here in the UK. As one of like the successful just British wrestlers, full stop, let alone that he's Black British. I just don't think that his contributions are like really highlighted the way that they should be. The things he's done in Mexico, being a world champion, it's nearly completely ignored. I think he was called Black Magic in Mexico.
Yeah,
and people just don't really talk about that part of his career. And then him he had a decent run in WCW, being just there in the high point of wrestling for WCW is an important thing. And then to still be a part of WWE, trusted. I assume that he probably went there when WCW folded and has been there this entire time since, from 2001. I assume so. He's been there in some capacity. Now he's like known as like one of the most trusted trainers there. Yeah. And you'll hear the NXT people, you'll hear the boys and girls talk about how much they love him and how much he's a big influence for them from FCW as well. So if anything, it's those NXT guys that are really shouting his praises more than anything. So even like the Seths and Romans and Sashas and Baileys, you hear them talking about him more than anyone. I just feel like everyone, like more people should. And it's kind of a difficult thing as well to do it on a worldwide thing. His name came up because of Black History Month in America. In the UK, for some reason, Black History Month is in October. Yeah. So we can't even synchronize our Black History Month, but they made sure that no matter what, it's 2 months that are cold in the year. That's when we're going to have Black people celebrating, when it's nice and cold. It's just like, but it'll be great though. It'll be great though if we can just like, really highlight in wrestling what we're like, what we've accomplished as Black British wrestlers. Because I think, honestly, I'm thinking of like, there's a wrestler called Johnny Quango from the 70s. It's like one of the big Black British wrestling stars from the World of Sport days that I can think of. And then there are obviously people who've done bits here on like a local level, but there's just not that many. And so the fact that we have someone in Norman Smiley who's doing so much still to this day, I just think we should just really be giving him his flowers. And so I would like to give him his flowers.
For sure. Norman is definitely one of those people. I think like when he like formally steps away from professional wrestling, if he ever does, I feel like that's when people will like look back at his contributions throughout his career, like, and even post in ring, like the stuff that the people he's trained, the people he's helped. It's always cool seeing these posts, man, and sort of recognizing the people that came, before you, and seeing like what they would accomplish and read some of their accolades and stuff like that. That's always cool, man. And I laughed a little bit when you said we need to synchronize the Black History Month in the UK and the US. I wonder who will budge first, the UK or the US, who gonna switch the date. That's gonna be cool, man. But yeah, Michael, I want to thank you for your time. It's always good talking to you. Like we definitely got to do this more, and one day, hopefully, I don't know when, but hopefully once this pandemic, moves aside, I come interview you in person. I'm gonna come to one of those RevPro shows, set up the camera, do something real cool, man. I think that'd be nice. But yeah, like I said, it's always good talking to you. I'm proud of seeing your success. Always root for you, and I was really glad to see your name, like sort of, really cross over, man, and just to see the amount of buzz that you got around your name, that's always cool to see, man. So, if you got any social medias, that you want to plug, your YouTube, anything you got, merchandise store, go ahead, make sure you say it, and I'm gonna make sure I put it in the description of this video.
Yeah, all my social medias at the OJMO. I guess the more important one is theojmo.com for merchandise. I'm getting like a lot more US orders recently, which is very, like real cool, real cool. And then shop RevPro as well.com, they have like exclusive merch they can only get there of mine As well as they sell New Japan merchandise as well. So like if you're a British customer, it's easy to get New Japan merch from shoprevpro.com. So those two places, OJMO.com, shoprevpro.com for my merch. And then if you want to follow me on all social media, including YouTube, just / the OJMO and you'll find me.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Andrew Thompson of the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel, signing off with the OJMO, a.k.a. Michael Oku, and we are out. Peace.